What if I told you that one of cinema's greatest directors almost destroyed himself before creating his masterpiece? Martin Scorsese's story isn't about success. It's about survival. Martin Scorsese didn't just make movies about criminals seeking forgiveness. He lived it. From the edge of self-destruction to creating some of the most powerful redemption stories ever put on film, Scorsese's own life became the template for every tortured character he'd bring to the screen. This is the story of how a broken man turned his pain into art, and how that art might have saved his life. Picture this. It's 1977, and Martin Scorsese just watched his dream project crash and burn. New York was supposed to be his love letter to classic Hollywood musicals. Instead, it became a nightmare. Critics tore it apart. Audiences stayed home. The budget had ballooned out of control. And suddenly, the golden boy who gave us Taxi Driver and Mean Streets was being called a has-been at 35 years old. But the failure of the film wasn't even the worst part. Scorsese was spiraling. The pressure, the endless shoots, the perfectionism that made him reshoot scenes dozens of times, it all caught up with him. And like so many people in Hollywood during the late 70s, he found an escape in cocaine. What started as a way to keep going during those brutal 20-hour shooting days turned into something darker. Scorsese wasn't just using cocaine to work anymore. He was using it to exist. His marriage was falling apart. His health was deteriorating. Friends watched him waste away, literally. The man who poured his soul into every frame of film was now pouring poison into his body. By 1978, Scorsese hit rock bottom. He was admitted to the hospital over Labor Day weekend. His weight had dropped dangerously low. His body was giving up. Doctors weren't sure he'd make it. Robert De Niro saved Martin Scorsese's life. Not with a lecture or an intervention in the traditional sense, but with a book. While Scorsese was in the hospital, De Niro came to visit. Scorsese was bleeding internally everywhere. His eyes, his hands, but the book wasn't really about boxing. It was about a man trying to understand why he kept punishing himself. It was about redemption, or at least the desperate search for it. Scorsese realized something in that hospital room. He could keep destroying himself, or he could turn his pain into something meaningful. He could make a film about redemption because he needed redemption. After nearly dying from the drug overdose, Scorsese agreed to make the film. Raging Bull became Scorsese's confession. Every punch Jake LaMotta throws in that ring is Scorsese punching himself for his failures. Every destroyed relationship mirrors Scorsese's own wreckage. The famous scene where LaMotta stands in his jail cell, beating his fists against the wall and screaming, "I'm not an animal," isn't just acting. It's primal. It's real. Scorsese shot the film in black and white, making it feel like a memory, like something dug up from the darkest corners of the soul. The boxing scenes aren't glamorous. They're ugly, brutal, honest. Blood splashes in slow motion. Faces get pounded into unrecognizable meat. This wasn't Rocky. This was a man destroying himself in public over and over, because he didn't know any other way to feel alive. And at the end, after LaMotta has lost everything, his title, his family, his dignity, there's that final scene. LaMotta, older and heavier, practicing lines in front of a mirror in a dingy dressing room. He's reciting Marlon Brando's famous speech from On the Waterfront. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. But then LaMotta adds something. He looks at himself and says, "I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad at all." It's a small moment of self-acceptance. Not grand redemption. Not Hollywood forgiveness. Just a broken man acknowledging he's still here, still breathing, still trying. Raging Bull saved Scorsese's career and possibly his life. The film is now considered one of the greatest ever made. But more importantly, it opened a door in Scorsese's mind. He'd found his theme, redemption, and he'd spend the next 4 decades exploring it in every possible way. Then came The Irishman in 2019, and everything clicked into place. This wasn't just another mob movie. This was Scorsese's final confession, his ultimate statement on guilt. Frank Sheeran spends his whole life killing for the mob. He destroys his relationship with his daughter, who looks at him with eyes that know exactly what he is. And at the end, Frank is alone. Old, forgotten, sitting in a nursing home with no visitors, no family. He tells his story to a priest, trying to unload the weight, silence from 2016. Every single time, he seeks forgiveness afterward, from God, from himself. That's Scorsese's entire career. That's his life. Fall down, betray yourself, hurt the people around you, then desperately try to make it right. Make a movie about it. Confess through art. Raging Bull, Goodfellas, Casino, Gangs of New York, The Departed, Shutter Island, The Wolf of Wall Street, Silence, The Irishman. Every single one features characters drowning in guilt, searching for some kind of absolution. These aren't just crime movies or historical dramas. They're prayers, They're confessions. Here's what makes Scorsese's story so powerful. He didn't overcome his demons and then make movies about redemption. He made movies about redemption to survive his demons. The art and the life became inseparable. Every film was therapy, confession, and prayer all at once. When you watch Raging Bull now, knowing what Scorsese was going through, every frame hits different. When you see Frank Sheeran alone at the end of The Irishman, you're not just watching a character. You're watching Scorsese wondering about his own legacy, his own choices. It's getting knocked down, standing back up, and making something honest about the fall. Martin Scorsese's life of redemption isn't a success story about a man who conquered his demons. It's the story of a man who survived by making his demons visible and by never stopping the search for forgiveness. That's not just great filmmaking. That's what it means to be human.